And welcome back to our Let's Play of Duel Links, trying to unlock all the characters without spending additional resources, if possible. This is episode 10 out of 24, so we are closing in on halfway. So this first one is in GX world, and Jaden duels Axel at level 20, who spawned in the world. And I have 3 objectives in this duel. Those are winning with 1000 or less life points remaining, summon a total of 5 warrior monsters against Axel, and perform 2 fusion summons in a single duel against Axel using Jaden. And this 1000 life point thing is pretty much the same as it is with Scud duels, when we do not want to decrease our own life points too soon, since he has effect damage cards, and then we could lose the duel, and we do not want to lose if we have to win with a certain amount of life points left. So yeah. Having said that, it is pretty obvious that I have to stall the duel out until I get all my fusion pieces, like the fusion materials and polymerization, as well as my copies of hieroglyph lithograph, so that I can do all of that. The warriors that I am summoning are free to obtain for me when I have stuff like Blue Flame Swordsman and Elemental Hero Stratos, but you may not have access to some of those because you do not have the friend code structured decks. But Joey, for example, comes with a few warrior type monsters and Jaden as well, and you just level those guys up. And when I had to go for Elemental Hero Thunder Giant for the mission with Cyrus, I used 1 rare ticket on a copy of Elemental Hero Sparkman. That one helps as well. Also, quite a few fusion monsters are warriors, and when you are free to play and do not have access to the friend code structured decks, you still can summon a few warrior fusions like Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, which is free to obtain from, I think, the card trader, but also rare card tickets and from leveling up Jaden, of course. And you could even go up to stage 10 and unlock Supreme King Jaden and Jaden Yubel, and those may give you some warriors as well. So we are now showing you the deck here that I used, nothing special, and that means we can move on. We swapped to 5D's world, and I decided to actually try and do something for Darkseid Akali, which was actually the second duel here, and the last mission I had to do, which was, of course, winning after dealing 3000 effect damage against her. Well, I do not have to win, but obviously we want to win. So 3000 effect damage is our main objective here, and I resort to the vessel farm once more. Nothing special, nothing crazy, and honestly I do not know what else to say when doing these vessel farms, since you probably already know how it works and you're sick of me talking about it. But what can I do? That's part of the mission, and so I'm doing it. Alternative methods to decrease your life points with effect are like Thunder Crash and maybe Raimei that you can get from the Yamiyuki starter deck, and Sparks or 2, and some other cards. Or if you are willing to put 500 gems into the hero structure deck, this one with Elemental Hero the Heat, Elemental Hero Heat, Elemental Hero Lady Heat, yeah, those guys. And Lady Heat inflicts 200 points of effect damage to your opponent during each of your standby phases, and it's 200 points of effect damage for each hero monster you control, including Heat, or Lady Heat rather. So if you have a few copies of Lady Heat on the field, you can stack the damage quickly, which is what I used to do back in the day, but since I'm not actually buying that structure deck here to save my 500 gems, I am not doing that, but just telling you that you could do it that way. Also, you could challenge her at level 20 so that she actually sets monsters, or you play cards that put her monsters into defense, like Stop Attack or Block Attack or whatever it's called, and maybe a Windstorm of Itaqua, And then you play Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder, which is actually a card from the Lifetimes list. You need a few continuous spell cards to sacrifice for Hamon, and Hamon attacks into a defense position monster your opponent controls, destroys it and sends it to the graveyard, and then your opponent takes 1000 points of damage. I think it's still 1000, right? They didn't change it. So, by doing that with Hamon, you could be fine as well. But for simplicity's sake, I opted to go for the classic Vessel farm. And with that done, I can proudly say that I unlocked Darksigner Kali, and I cannot tell you how difficult it was for me to unlock Darksigner Kali in the past, when we still had to do all the other missions against her at level 30, and it was just a pain. So I am glad and thankful that we do not have to do it against her at level 30 anymore, and can instead go to level 10 if we so choose to. This was the Vessel farm deck that I used, so nothing special, nothing you haven't seen yet, and that means we can move on, but we stick to 5D's World since Crow showed up at level 30, and you say has to beat Crow at level 30 3 times in total. Well, beating Crow at level 30 is quite difficult for the most part, in my opinion, and I actually try to push these missions to the side for as long as I can, and actually when I have to go for Crow, for example when I need to unlock Shay eventually, I want to do him then when I have better cards and feel more confident. This one was a spawn, so there's no harm in actually trying this. It was the third level 30 duel that I played against him, and I did not record the other two since this is just too repetitive, as I mentioned in the Asana part of the last video. So, the other two missions for Crow, besides actually winning 3 duels against him at level 30 with Yusei, were that we win 3 duels with winged beast monsters only, which I did against standard duelists, and that we inflict a total of 30,000 points of effect damage in 5D's World duels. And you can do this with the Vessel farm easily. You can do it in just 2 or 3 duels, depending on how the duels go. And since you have to deal effect damage to Darksigner Kalin and Darksigner Kali, also to Trudge and even to Jack, you should be able to conduct a few Vessel farms. You could even do this against some standard duelists, so 30,000 effect damage is not a big deal. Now we swap over to GX World, and Zane spawned in at level 10, which means I can go for all 5 of his unlock missions, and that is not a mistake, because previously you had to do stuff with Jaden and with Cyrus and stuff like that. Now you can use whatever character you want, I believe, and the missions are that we perform 3 fusion summons, we win during the opponent's turn, we summon a level 5 or higher machine fusion monster, which in my case here is a Super Vicroid Jumbo Drill, a free-to-play card, free to obtain, and its materials are as well once you unlock Cyrus, and also summon a level 10 or higher monster against Zane, which I opted to go for Arcana Force EX, the Light Ruler, simply due to the fact that it is a main deck monster and I cannot go to the extra deck that consistently, so like stuff like the Shooting Star Dragon I cannot summon whenever I want. So I think that Arcana Force EX, the Light Ruler, might be a good idea. And its advantage over stuff like Obelisk is that it can be special summoned, so I could theoretically summon it during the same turn I normally summon a monster. And getting 3000 or more attack points in is quite easy, since Arcana Force EX, the Light Ruler, has 4000 attack points. That is quite big and massive. So if we attack into a monster that has 1000 or less attack points and our attack actually goes through, we should be able to deal 3000 points of damage. And then winning during the opponent's turn is quite an interesting approach of doing stuff. And my thing usually is that I let him attack into me, but I only do this when I have access to a Spike Shield with Chain, which I do not have in this instance. So instead I have 1 additional card in my deck, make sure that my usual cards like Stratos do not thin out my deck, and then I make sure that I do not run out of cards from my deck to draw, but he does. So he loses the duel in his own draw phase. But I actually want to attack for 3000 or more points of damage before that happens, so that I get the mission done. When it comes to the 3 fusion summons, one of the fusion summons that I need to conduct is a level 5 or higher machine fusion, which I already mentioned is of course Jumbo Drill, and that is one of the 3 fusions that I need to perform, and therefore, while I'm already putting polymerization in my deck, I could play more copies of polymerization to make it more consistent to draw into it when I already have the 3 materials for Jumbo Drill, so I might as well go for the other 2 fusions when I'm doing this mission and when I'm playing this duel. So Zane, level 10, we already cleared all 5 of his missions in this one duel against him at level 10, and it was a spawn. Not that a level 10 actually costs a lot of gate keys, but I'm glad anytime I can clear character unlock missions without using gate keys, no matter how difficult the missions are or the duels go. So I actually need to show you the deck, of course, so that you know what I did, but I shall not forget about it. Yeah, exactly. So you see what I have here, the usual stuff, like the materials you need for Jumbo Drill, and of course the Jumbo Drill itself. So with that said, we can now move on to another duel, and this one is actually against Jesse. Jesse spawned in at level 20, and Jaden wants to duel Jesse and of course win. This, I believe, is our first duel against him, and I have a few objectives here, which are summoning Winged Koribo, summoning Elemental Hero Neos, and destroying 7 monsters in duels against him. I think it has to be in a single duel, right? I don't know, I don't care, we destroy his monsters, and that should be good. And since he is level 20, he actually sets monsters instead of playing them in face-up attack position, therefore he doesn't lose life points that quickly, and therefore it is easier to destroy a lot of monsters in a single duel against him before he loses. And we actually have to beat him 3 times, which is a mission they changed. Previously it was like that Maximilian Pegasus had to win against him as well, and that's no longer the case. Instead, they changed it to winning 3 times against him. And when it comes to summoning Winged Koribo and Elemental Hero Neos, you do not need to worry about getting those cards, since you already get them when unlocking GX World and Jaden as your starter character. For getting the world itself, you get Winged Koribo, and for unlocking Jaden, you get an Elemental Hero Neos in his starter deck, so you should be fine there. If you want more consistency and do not already have more copies of Elemental Hero Neos, you could always go to stage 10 in GX World and unlock Jaden Yubel as well as Supreme King Jaden, both of which come with an Elemental Hero Neos in their starter deck, so that you are actually able to play 3 copies and therefore see a copy of Neos more quickly than by just playing 1 of them. Nothing too special, nothing crazy in this duel, and I can just play it out here. And the remaining Jesse duels will come a bit later. While this is going on, we can talk about the Yubel missions for a certain purpose. But the Yubel missions were that Jaden got a comeback victory against Yubel. This could be against Yubel at any level, even level 10, which is what I did. And previously it had to be against them at level 30, so way more difficult and way more frustrating. Versus Zane, we have to summon a level 10 or higher monster, which I just did in the previous duel when I summoned Arcana Force EX, the Light Ruler. Then versus Jesse, we summon a level 8 or higher machine fusion monster, which, you guessed it, is actually Super V-Croyd Jumbo Drill, which I got for free from unlocking Cyrus. And I already showed you how to summon it in the Zane duel previously, so I'm going to do it again against Jesse, and therefore clear that mission too, which, by the way, is the final mission I have to do to unlock Yubel. And then the remaining 2 Yubel missions were that Jaden duels Yubel and performs 2 fusion summons in a single duel against them. Previously it had to be against them at level 30, and Jaden vs Yubel summons Elemental Hero Neos 2 times in a single duel, which was 3 times in one duel and at level 30 previously. So now it can be against them at any level, which is good because I like to do it at level 10, and we already did all of these missions, and therefore after summoning a level 8 or higher machine fusion against Jesse in this last duel, we can unlock Yubel. And that means I can swap to Arc 5 World now and duel Sora here. He spawned in at level 30, and that is mighty convenient for me, since the missions that I'm going for, the one mission that I'm going for, is that Yuya wins against Sora at level 30. So as long as we win, we are fine in this instance. And we will clear the remaining 4 missions for Sora in one of the next videos. So let's get a quick recap of what we did. We actually cleared something for Axel's unlock. We completed Kali's unlock, Darksigner Kali's unlock, of course. We completed Crow's unlock, which basically was just one duel that I showed. And we finished Zane's unlock as well in a single duel. Got all 5 missions done. We started Jesse's unlock and we'll continue it later. We unlocked Yubel and we are going to finish Sora's unlock first unlock portion or whatever. We are going to unlock Sora soon enough, since we actually need him for Shay, and therefore I need to get Sora before I get Shay. And I want to unlock Shay in a few episodes time, so getting him now or getting him early is better for me. And Sora level 30 spawned in, so it was a free attempt without using any gate keys. Having said that, we can actually wait for the next episode to do more stuff. Thank you all so much for watching.